Are chop blocks making your life miserable? The chop blocker is looking for your speed and the depth of the ball to make a really effective chop block. So what do you need to do? You need to take that speed away from them, and also think about perhaps spinning the ball a little bit shorter and to different positions. Here, they can do a lot. Here, it's difficult. Here, it's difficult. So think about your placement and your speed and make it as difficult as possible for them to make that chop block. Oh, that's tough. So if I'm putting the ball deep on the table and close to Jeff's bat, it's easier for him to make that chop block. So now that ball there was short on the table, and so Jeff didn't have any speed to play with, and by the time the ball got to his bat, it was going really slowly, so he had nothing to work with. And again, if I play it faster and close to his bat, then it's easy for him. So one of the keys here with playing against the chop block is to not get that ball into that hitting zone for Jeff, close to his body and with a right amount of pace for him to be able to play that chop block.
So you said it's good to play that higher, slower ball because it makes it more difficult for me to make that chop block. But I'm not going to be chop blocking the whole time. So sometimes I might be blocking normally. And then when you do a fast one, I might make that chop block. Yes. So you can't just be always playing that higher ball.
No, it's about variation. And if you're finding that they're playing a lot of chop blocks and that's worrying you, that's when you need to change up the pace and the depth, especially of the ball. So by getting that ball a little bit shorter over the net, and it doesn't have to be high, even if it's just lower and close to the net, the chop blocker then needs to come in to play that block and becomes quite difficult for them to play.
All right, so now let's assume that you're mixing it up a bit, but still you've played this fast one and they do make a chop block. The ball comes back differently, doesn't it? It's a bit harder to play. So what's some things they can do there?
Understand that the ball's not going to come through to you like you're used to with a normal block. The chop block, as the name suggests, is going to have some backspin on it and it's going to slow up on the table. So I want you to think about, if you see them play that chop block, you need to move in close to the table to make sure you're countering that ball.
Okay, should we have a look at this in action?
Yeah.
Oh. Shot.
Yeah. So after I see that chop block, I need to move in and make sure I'm taking that ball a little bit earlier, closer to the net.
Now, that was an impressive forehand you hit there. Now, I don't think I got a lot of backspin on that one. So the chop block can sometimes have more backspin, have less backspin. How do you pick up on that? And what are you looking for in terms of, what sort of spins on the ball?
You need to see their contact. You also need to see their action because the chop block also has some side spin on the ball. So you'll see that often the action is a sideways motion this way. So there's going to be some side spin and a little bit of back on it as well.
And you can see the ball curve if you're watching it closely.
Yeah, you'll see the ball curve, you'll see it in the air. But again, like everything, and especially with these strokes that are a little bit different, you need to just be exposed to them as many times as you possibly can. Get your training partner to just do a few or try a few, and you try a few yourself just so you understand as well how difficult the stroke is to play. It's not an easy stroke, so think about how difficult it is to play, and then you're starting to utilize that training session a little bit better to get better at that whole.
And what I've noticed here, just when I'm practicing these myself, it's actually hard for me to do a chop block that's quite low, and often I'm popping them up a little bit. And is that something you can take advantage of?
Yeah, exactly. So, again, if you're putting more topspin on the ball, that slower ball, then it's hard for them to keep the ball down with the chop block. So then you can move in, come in and try to kill the next ball.
Yeah. And if I do get one of those really good low ones, how do you deal with that ball?
Yep. Then you need to get down lower. Make sure you getting your legs down low, because remember it's going to feel like it's got a lot of backspin on it. So it's like you're going to lift that ball up more, like you would against a push.
Let's just show a couple more because I was liking your forehand there. Let's see how you go. Oh, that's a good chop block.
Can't deal with that.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
So we talked about a few things there, Alois, but we haven't mentioned some of your favorite topics about like placement.
Exactly. So we've talked about the depth and the placement of the depth, but there's also the placement across the table. So remember, again, this area here is easy to make the chop block from. But if they're stretched, then they're going to lose a lot of feel and control out there. So if they're stretched out there, and also if you play it to their forehand, maybe they don't have a forehand chop block.
Yeah.
So
The backhands are much more common for people to use the chop block on, isn't it?
It seems to be a bit easier to play the chop block on. So think about staying away from this area, stay away from this zone. We talked about the depth zone. Now also think about the zones across the table that you can start to hit that's going to make it more difficult for them to make that chop block.
Excellent. So this ties into a wider sort of topic, Alois, about kind of, I guess you call it resilience of your style. The more you're exposed to different types of spins, different types of balls, the more resilient and the more your game's going to hold up when you play against different people, different styles.
Yeah. And that's where it's important to, if you can find a club, find a group of people that you're playing with. If you're always playing with the same person or playing with a robot, you're never going to get that breadth of experience of playing different people. So we always encourage you, get to a club, find some different people to play with, and you're going to broaden your whole table tennis game.
Absolutely. And you're going to start to enjoy your table tennis more. So get to a club, and thanks for watching.
The first thing is to understand the ball isn't going to come in and close to you. Need to just bend this hip.
Okay, so what should you do when you're trying to play someone and your hip doesn't work?
Don't worry about it. Just
make sure to check out the PingSkills website. We've got heaps of step-by-step tutorials, expert tips, training plans. Plus, if you've got a table tennis question, you can ask it right there on the site, pingskills.com.